Hello, what's up? I'm Brian here doing another video for you guys, and this time we're going to be talking about what was shown off during the Hasbro Pulse event with Sixo. Now, this is mostly just going to be about Studio Series. There's some Generations Legacy things we're going to talk about in another video, as well as some of the mentions of upcoming waves. But for this, we're going to mainly talk about the Studio Series stuff. Yes, they also talked about Roboson, but I don't normally talk too much about that, so let's focus on Studio Series. We're going to start off with the core class. This is the Dark of the Moon Bumblebee. This is the only core class figure that they showed off, and obviously it's going to be a repaint of the Laserbeak. In fact, some would assume, and rightfully assume, that the Bumblebee was thought of first, and then they eventually just did the Laserbeak, but released that one first. Anyways, so yeah, it's basically the Laserbeak mold just in yellow. You pretty much know this. I'm pretty sure everyone got the idea of what this is going to look like. Now, for the robot mode, there is a bit of a surprise. As you can see, again, same thing, but it has a lighter gray this time, or at least the image seems to show a lighter gray. And then he's also got the bow mask instead of the regular Bumblebee head, which we'd assumed would just be this, because obviously this makes sense, but no, they decided to change it up, and I don't mind that. If they want to do that, go ahead. Now, I'm curious to see if they're going to rework this a little bit to give us some of the other Bumblebees, like maybe the original Camaro or Revenge of the Fallen, because all you have to do is rework the chest, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It might not happen because there's no real reason for it. It's so small that you're hardly going to notice it, but I mean, it's something that they could do, considering the fact that they could just swap out the head. But yeah, just wanted to touch up on that. And then moving right along, we have the Studio Series 86 Brawn. We heard about this before, and I'm so happy about it. Now, I love the Titans Returns Brawn. I think he's a pretty cool figure, but I gotta say, this one's doing it for me. First of all, it's got a more, I guess, army colored green rather than this metallic deep green, and I think that works a little bit better for this, version of the car. And I love the grille, the silver inside that. The wheels look pretty good with the silver trim, even though they're mushroom capped. And he does come with the proper gun. It's not just that shield thing that slaps to the side of the arm, which is optional. So that was kind of a thing that happened. But yeah, the way the sides are designed does definitely remind me of the original G1 toy. And then we take a look at the robot mode, and I almost thought this was a third-party figure, but he looks really nice. Maybe the panel on the back is a little too wide, but otherwise, he just looks like he jumped out of the cartoon, but has some, details thrown in there that are typical for the Generations line. You could definitely see that in the legs. And they actually fold out the legs to where it looked more like the G1 figure, because it's got very awkward proportions. But yeah, I'm into this, and I'm curious if we're going to get an Outback later down the road. Obviously we will, but I'm just wondering when. But the colors are nice. I like the silver for the arms. I like the little pistol that he's got. Yeah, I'm into this, even though it doesn't have a blast effect on the shoulder. That would have been good too. Anyways, moving on, we also have the Warfare Cybertron Gamer Edition. This is Cliffjumper. So obviously we have the Bumblebee, they would do the Cliffjumper. And I gotta say, I have the original Warfare Cybertron Cliffjumper figure, and this isn't really doing too well. One of the tabs is broken, these just flop around, and he's also way too big, so I'm happy about this. I know there's problems with the Bumblebee mold, but I'm fine with it. It's a very ketchup color for a Cliffjumper. It's not like a deep red, it's more like an orangish red, at least in this image. But it does come with the same accessories. I do like the red trim going around it, because the original Cliffjumper figure they decided to swap out for yellow, which does make sense when you're trying to swap out the colors for Bumblebee and Cliffjumper, because the accent colors for Bumblebee was red. But if you're going for the Gamer Edition, then obviously you would trim it with the red lights. Anyways, there's his robot mode, and it's more like the follow Cybertron Cliffjumper because he has the Transformers Prime-esque head, because they were trying to conjoin the Align continuity with the games, even though that didn't really work out too well. But yeah, they decided to go with that head, and I'm happy about that, because that just means that something Transformers Prime, or something with the aesthetic of Transformers Prime, is coming into play now, because when you look at those Prime Legacy figures, so yeah, I'm happy about that, and yeah, the design looks fine. The chest does look bulky, it does look like he's got a pretty big stomach, but the more I see it, the more I really don't mind. I like the size, I like the design, so I think I'm fine with that. And then we also have the War for Cybertron Megatron. Now, I do have the original Deluxe, which I also really do like, but I wouldn't mind this because it's a Voyager Class version of the Megatron, which I think was needed in the first place, so I'm glad about that. I'm glad that it comes with the mace weapon. You can attach that to the top. You don't have to, but it's there if you need it. Now, it seems like the main turret is just one of the arms that you attach the fusion cannon to the front of that, which is an interesting design choice. You got the spikes at the front there. One thing I don't like is the hover tread. So on the original toy, you would fold up the treads and it would be the normal treads, or you flip them this way and then it would be a hover tank. It seems like for this version of Megatron, it's just going to be the hover tank because I'm not sure how you're going to flip down the treads at the front there, which I wouldn't mind, but then you look at the back and it just looks a little too hollow. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I do like the point on the back there. And the colors look fine, and then taking a look at the robot mode, yeah, I love that mace, even though it looks a little too long with him carrying it from the back there. The cannon does look kind of small for me. I prefer the size of this one, but, you know, it's not too bad, and, you know, I like the accents of red, the dark gray, and then this kind of lighter dark gray that goes throughout the figure that's its main color, so yeah, and then it's also got the purple accents, of course. You know, it's the War for Cybertron Megatron. I like the design. I think he's perfect, so yeah. And also, you can detach the arm, so if you want, you can swap that out for the cannon, so that's his entire arm. Or you could swap it with some of the other weapons, like the Bumblebee, the Cliffjumper, and the Optimus Prime. You could totally do that. Oh, and the Barricade as well. Anyways, moving right along, we also have Rhinox. Now, there is a review for Rhinox out there, so anyone concerned about this image and the brown accent colors, because it doesn't really blend too well with the figure, don't worry, it seems like the figure that we're going to get is more like a grayish, brownish color. It's more in between this, and I think that's a better choice. They also mentioned this with the Nemesis Leo Prime, that the colors for the brownish plastic is actually going to be dimmed down and more darker when the figure officially releases. So it's just something with the stock images or the, you know, the concept of these figures being used. But yeah, I do like this alt form. I do think that the belly is a little weird and how it kind of comes down like that. I don't know, it just feels weird, but the rest of the toy I do like. Yeah, the legs are right there. I mean, obviously the legs are right there, but what I mean is the upper legs are right on the back, but yeah, I don't mind. He's also got the weapon that attaches on top. You could just leave that off if you don't want it, but yes, it's a meat hammer thing, so that's fine, and yeah, I think it looks cool. This is a figure that we've seen before, but yeah, I like the robot mode. It still reminds me of some of the knights from the last night, but I like the spikes coming out of the back, and then I actually really like the head sculpt here. I think that works for Rhinox, so yeah, I like it. And then moving right along, we also have the Optimus Prime. So this is going to be part of the Buzzworthy Bumblebee lineup, but it is going to be a Voyager class. This is the Rise of the Beast one, so it's not the mainline one from the Rise of the Beast toy line. And one thing that apparently it doesn't have is part of the bull bar is missing at the top there, but it blends in. I didn't really notice. It's just I saw someone nitpick about that on Twitter, so I was just mentioning that. Now, I will say that the back does look a little messy, but I do like the fact that you could plug the gun on the back there. I'm pretty sure the sword plugs in somewhere. And, you know, the truck doesn't look too bad. It's a little gappy on the sides, but I'm fine with that. I actually really like the top there with the silver bits. It looks a little too big, but I kind of like that, actually, so and I also like the fact that there's quite a bit of red and blue going on with the alt mode. And then the robot mode, again, we've seen before, but now we can confirm that, yes, the sword will be able to plug to the side of the arm like that. You also have a peg on the side that apparently someone plugged, so you have different options of how you want the sword to attach. And yes, the gun will be able to swap with the hand, so we don't have to concern ourselves with that. Because I was a little worried that you would just have the gun hand and that was it. But no, you can swap it with the hand, so that's good. And the design looks fine. Some people are upset with the Rodimus style shoulders to where they kind of come up from inside the torso, so they go high up. But I don't necessarily mind. I didn't even catch that with the original images, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, this is the Optimus Prime I think I'm going to prefer. I like the look of the Rise of Beast mainline one, but I've been mostly getting into Studio Series figures, so I'm kind of keeping in track with that. But With that, what do you guys think? Please comment below, let me know. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and all those fun doodads, and I'll see you guys next time.
AllSpark TV. Now that's just prime.